Section 4 of The Mystery of the Ocean Star. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Robert Hoffman. The Mystery of the Ocean Star by W. Clark Russell. Section 4. Pictures at Sea. Once, in the Bay of Bengal, I witnessed from the deck of a ship named the Hougoumont a sight the like of which, had I read a description of it, I should have believed impossible in nature. The weather had been gloomy and sullen throughout the day. The swell was a sickly jumble of somber green folds, sulkily shouldering one another as they ran, and I noticed that they likewise moved very sluggishly, as oil might, or water thick with ooze. A light air slipped from one swinging brow to another, but it had not weight enough to steady the canvas, and the ship rolled dismally, burying her sides with a regular seesawing of the channel's lifted foaming, whilst the blows of the sails against the masts sent blasts of noise like the explosions of 9-pounders vibrating through the dusky air. The look of the sky was more menacing than the warnings of the glass, low as the mercury stood. That a hurricane was not far off was not to be doubted, but we believed ourselves to be on the southern verge of it, and that we should, therefore, escape the central rage, though it was more than probable that we should encounter the lighter tempest flying off the back wing of the storm fiend as he passed. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, though the sun then stood many degrees above the horizon, it was so dark that the men had to feel about for the ropes. The ship having been stripped of her canvas, the noises aloft were small and weak, whilst the straining sounds from the bulkheads and strong fastenings in the cabins and hold were so muffled by battened hatches and tarpaulined skylights that they scarcely caught the ear. The dismaying influence of the dark, still shadow on high showed strongly in the glimmering faces of the men. I was but a lad at the time and making my second voyage, and so was comparatively unseasoned, and I was awed and alarmed by this sullen gloom, whose preternatural complexion made you think of having floated into some sunless world of waters, over which no star ever sparkled, over whose circle of indigo no moon ever lifted a crimson brow, and whose atmosphere was to blacken yet as the deeper solitudes were penetrated. One yearned for a flash of lightning, for a growl of distant thunder, for any quality of the familiar to neutralize the superstitious fears inspired by this afternoon darkness, imperturbably tincturing its substance into the raven hue of midnight. We spoke in whispers. The mate, receiving his orders from the captain, who delivered them in a low voice, would approach the men close before repeating them, as though he durst not break the stillness by bawling. There was an inconsolable sobbing of water alongside, and at long intervals, audible only at moments when the breathless hang of the ship upon the slope of some liquid brow left the fabric deathlike, you heard a sort of moaning noise in the air, vague and indeterminable, echoes no doubt from the field of battle that was yet leagues distant. At 8 o'clock it was pitch dark. The atmosphere was now breathless. Though I had been on deck since 6, I had not witnessed once in any quarter of the horizon the faintest glare of lightning. A dim and rusty tinge of red had filtered into the west when the sun set, but the ugly illumination faded quickly. I went below to turn in, but finding that others of the watch I belonged to remained on deck, I returned, and leaning over the poop rail, stood straining my eyes against the amazing blindness of the night, in vain search of any break of radiance upon the sea line. The confused swell rolled to the ship in a huddle of liquid blocks of blackness, amid which large rich clouds of phosphor flashed with the mild play of sheet lightning. On a sudden, a young shipman who was standing near bade me in a soft voice look right astern. The ship's head lay about west-southwest, and over the taffrail in the ebon void there I witnessed a very delicate hectic, kind of pinkish tinge, sifting through the blackness. It resembled the slow floating upwards of a prodigious body of red smoke, or of smoke colored with the flames of a continent on fire immeasurably distant. Its space on the horizon, when first viewed, might be measured by the breadth of our taffrail, but in a short time it had rolled along past either quarter till it occupied the whole of the sea line astern, meanwhile continually ascending as though formed of a substance apart from the clouds, and it grew clearer and brighter as its surface enlarged, and presently the whole of the eastern and southern sky was aglow with it. There is no color or combination of colors that I am acquainted with by which I should be able to define the astonishing complexion of this light. I must speak of it as pink, though a painter would not thus express it. Its westernmost verge did not extend beyond our mastheads. Nevertheless, the radiance cast a phantasmal illumination upon the black sky down to the confines of the ocean, and the sinuous sea line was playing the whole horizon round, as though limed with a trembling sweep of a brush dipped in India ink. In my brief 8 years of seafaring life, I have seen the ships I was in colored by some strange, many lovely, and a few terrifying lights, but the like of this midnight luster, crimsoning the sooty heavens without revealing a single break amid the compacted masses of vapor under which it rolled, I had never beheld before, I have never beheld since, and, to be plain, comprehending its cyclonic significance, I never wish to behold again.